The planet Xylos hummed with a low, resonant thrum, a vibration felt more than heard. Giant bioluminescent fungi pulsed with an eerie green light, casting long, dancing shadows across the crystalline plains. The air, thick with the scent of ozone and something akin to wet metal, stung the nostrils, or in this case, the respiratory filaments of a visiting dignitary. This was Xylos Prime, capital of the Kryll Directorate, a species whose entire existence revolved around strategic, resource acquisition and the meticulous execution of galactic trade agreements. Everything here spoke of order, efficiency, and the unwavering adherence to protocol. The Kryll themselves, tall, chitinous beings with multifaceted eyes that glittered like polished obsidian, moved with a deliberate, almost unsettling grace. Their society was a symphony of calculated movements and precisely calibrated pronouncements. Every interaction, from a simple greeting to a complex negotiation, was governed by a series of unbreakable rules and traditions. Deviations were rare, frowned upon, and often resulted in unpleasantness, which is why the sudden unannounced arrival of a fleshy bipedal creature in a severely damaged escape pod caused such a ripple of consternation throughout the Kryll High Command. The pod, or what was left of it, lay embedded in one of the crystalline plains, a smoking, sparking testament to some unknown disaster. Kryll security forces, clad in gleaming exoskeletons, surrounded the wreckage, their energy weapons trained on the gaping hole where the cockpit used to be. Emerging from the mangled metal, blinking in the harsh alien light, was a human. He was disheveled, covered in soot, and looked profoundly unimpressed by the phalanx of armed Kryll warriors. He scratched his head, pushing back a lock of greasy brown hair. "Well, that was a bit of a bumpy landing," he muttered, his voice a strange guttural rumble that grated on the Kryll's sensitive auditory receptors. He was wearing what appeared to be a faded blue jumpsuit, torn in several places and emblazoned with a logo that, after a frantic search of the galactic database, turned out to be the emblem of a long-defunct Earth shipping company. "Greetings. Kryll people," he said, offering a hesitant wave. "Name's Dave, last name doesn't really matter right now. Bit lost, to be honest." The Kryll commander, a towering specimen named Cathar, tilted his head, his multifaceted eyes narrowing. "Identify yourself. State your purpose. Explain your unauthorized entry into Kryll space." Cathar's voice, amplified through his exoskeleton's comm system, was a deep, resonating growl that brooked no argument. Dave squinted at him. "Purpose? Surviving? I was in transit. Hyperspace jump went sideways and, well, here I am. As for unauthorized entry, blame the navigational system, not me." He shrugged, a gesture that struck Cathar as strangely casual, almost disrespectful. "Your vessel is unregistered. Your presence is illogical," Cathar stated, his tone hardening. "Explain why you are here." Dave sighed. "Look, I told you, crash landing. Big explosion, lots of smoke, the whole shebang. Can we skip the interrogation and maybe get me a cup of coffee? Or, whatever the Kryll equivalent of coffee is. I'm not picky." Cathar exchanged a series of rapid clicks and whistles with his subordinates, a complex form of communication that Dave couldn't even begin to decipher. The Kryll were clearly disturbed. This human was an anomaly, a glitch in their meticulously ordered universe, and they had no idea what to do with him. His escape pod, logged as derelict, showed a direct trajectory from a destroyed vessel light years outside of their jurisdiction near the hostile Vorgon sector. Nothing added up. Everything about this human screamed either advanced scout or complete imbecile. The first sign that Dave wasn't going to fit in came during the mandatory decontamination process. Kryll protocol dictated a full-body sonic scrub, followed by immersion in a sterilizing gel, all conducted in sterile silence. Dave, however, decided to provide a running commentary. "So, this sonic thingy, is it supposed to feel like a swarm of angry bees? Because that's what it feels like. And this gel smells a bit like my Aunt Mildred's experimental kombucha. No offense." The Kryll attendants exchanged confused glances, their chitinous faces betraying a flicker of something akin to horror. Aunt Mildred. Kombucha? These terms were absent from their vast database of galactic knowledge. Then came the matter of sustenance. The krill dietary staple was a nutrient paste derived from processed algae, rich in minerals and utterly devoid of flavor. It was, according to krill nutritional science, the most efficient way to sustain life. Dave took one look at the grayish-green blob, poked it tentatively with a finger, and politely declined. "No offense, guys, but that looks like something. I scraped off the bottom of my shoe once. Got any, actual food?" This request prompted another round of frantic consultations among the krill administrators. Actual food? The concept was alien to them. Sustenance was sustenance, a purely functional necessity, not something to be enjoyed. After much deliberation, they presented Dave with a tray of processed protein cubes, each precisely measured and formulated to meet his species' estimated nutritional requirements. Dave examined the cubes with a mixture of amusement and dismay. "Okay, now these just look like pet food," he said, earning more confused glances from the krill. He ate one, grimaced, and then asked if they had anything to drink besides the algae-based electrolyte solution. He then went on to describe in vivid detail a beverage known as beer, which involved fermented grains, hops, and a complex brewing process that sounded suspiciously chaotic and inefficient to the krill. The krill communication officers were constantly kept up all night translating Dave's utterly bizarre, nonsensical requests. They were spending more time trying to understand beer than processing important strategic resource reports. The cultural misunderstandings extended beyond food and drink. The krill, being a highly regimented society, valued punctuality above all else. Everything operated on a strict schedule down to the millisecond. Dave, on the other hand, seemed to operate on Dave time, a fluid and unpredictable concept that bore no relation to the krill's meticulously calibrated chronometers. He was consistently late for meetings, often offering flimsy excuses involving malfunctioning replicators or the unexpected discovery of interesting-looking fungi outside his quarters. His tardiness was not merely inconvenient. It was a direct affront to krill sensibilities, a blatant disregard for the established order. The krill security officers didn't know whether to arrest him or simply buy him a new watch. The krill had assigned a cultural liaison officer, a low-ranking functionary named Zorp, to help Dave acclimate to krill society. Zorp was a diligent, if somewhat naive, krill who took his duties very seriously. He spent hours explaining the intricacies of krill customs to Dave, patiently outlining the proper protocols for everything from greeting superiors to navigating the complex network of subterranean tunnels that crisscrossed Xylos Prime. Dave listened, with a polite if somewhat glazed-over expression, occasionally interjecting with irrelevant questions about Xylosian wildlife or the surprisingly catchy rhythm of the planet's humming vibrations. Zorp suspected that Dave wasn't actually listening to him at all. During one particularly important briefing on the Kryll Directorate's stance on intergalactic trade disputes, Dave pulled out a small rectangular device from his pocket and began tapping away at it. Zorp, horrified by this blatant display of disrespect, stammered, "What? What is that device? Is it some form of weapon?" Dave glanced up, his eyes widening in mock surprise. "Weapon? Nah, it's just my, personal entertainment device. Keeps me from, dying of boredom." He then proceeded to show Zorp a series of brightly colored images depicting cartoon characters engaged in various slapstick antics. Zorp was not amused. He made a note to report Dave's device to the High Command immediately. The Kryll began to suspect that their new guest was a complete and utter madman. The situation reached a boiling point when Dave, during a formal dinner with the Kryll High Council, attempted to initiate a conversation about the merits of competitive eating. The Kryll, who viewed food as a purely functional necessity, were utterly bewildered by the concept of consuming vast quantities of sustenance for sport. The dinner ended abruptly, with Cathar storming out of the room, muttering something about the illogical barbarity of humans. From that moment on, Dave was no longer viewed as a mere curiosity or a potential diplomatic liability. He was now officially a problem, a disruptive force that threatened to unravel the very fabric of Kryll society. The Kryll security forces intensified their surveillance, determined to uncover the true purpose of this strange, unpredictable human. They were certain that behind his laid-back demeanor and bizarre habits lay a hidden agenda, a secret that could jeopardize the entire Directorate. Dave's unorthodox habits began to raise more than just eyebrows. They triggered alarms. The Kryll weren't accustomed to unpredictability, especially from a species as fleshy as humans. Every deviation from protocol, every casual disregard for their meticulously crafted regulations was logged, analyzed, and filed under potential threat. One particularly unsettling incident involved Dave repurposing a sonic emitter originally designed for mining operations to create what he called a white noise machine. He claimed it helped him sleep, but the Kryll detected fluctuations in the planetary energy grid during its use. Was he trying to disrupt their communications? Or worse, was he attempting to weaponize their technology against them? The Kryll High Command convened a special session dedicated solely to discussing the human anomaly. Holographic projections of Dave's most egregious offenses filled the chamber. His refusal to wear the regulation Kryll jumpsuit, his insistence on playing Earth music, a cacophony of discordant sounds according to the Kryll, and his baffling attempts to grow a garden of brightly colored, non-nutritious plants in his quarters. Cathar, his chitinous mandibles clicking with irritation, declared, "This human's behavior is illogical, disruptive, and frankly, insulting. He is either a fool or a saboteur. Either way, we must determine his true intentions before he causes irreparable damage." The other members of the High Command murmured in agreement, their multifaceted eyes narrowed in suspicion. Surveillance of Dave intensified. Every room in his quarters was fitted with miniature sensors monitoring his movements, his conversations, or more accurately, his monologues, and even his sleep patterns. Drones followed him discreetly through the corridors of the Kryll city, their optical sensors recording every interaction, every gesture, every seemingly innocuous action. Zorp, the cultural liaison officer, was now under constant pressure to extract information from Dave. He tried subtle questioning, veiled threats, even clumsy attempts at reverse psychology. But Dave remained an enigma, cheerfully deflecting Zorp's inquiries with jokes, anecdotes about his crazy relatives, and bewildering analogies involving Earth cuisine. "Look, Zorp," Dave said one day, as he casually juggled 3 nutrient paste packets. "I'm just trying to make the best of things here. Your planet's a bit beige, if you know what I mean. A guy's got to find ways to entertain himself, right?" Zorp, his face a mask of confusion, could only nod weakly. He suspected that Dave was deliberately playing dumb, concealing some nefarious purpose behind a facade of harmless eccentricity. The Kryll Central Intelligence Agency, KCIA, began compiling a detailed psychological profile of Dave. They analyzed his every utterance, scrutinized his body language, and even attempted to reconstruct his memories using advanced neuroscanning technology. The results were inconclusive. Dave appeared to be genuinely strange. His thought processes were nonlinear, his motivations obscure, and his capacity for boredom seemingly limitless. One KCIA analyst, after weeks of poring over Dave's file, muttered in exasperation, "He's either the most brilliant spy in the galaxy or just incredibly stupid, and frankly, I'm not sure which is more terrifying." The Kryll Directorate, a society built on logic, order, and unwavering adherence to protocol, was being driven to the brink of madness by a single, unpredictable human. The more they tried to understand him, the more elusive he became. The breakthrough, if it could be called that, came during a routine search of Dave's quarters. The Kryll security team, led by the stern and ever-vigilant Commander Rizak, meticulously scanned every inch of the room, their energy weapons humming with anticipation. They were searching for evidence, any concrete proof of Dave's supposed treachery. Hidden beneath a pile of neatly folded Kryll-issued undergarments, an act of defiance in itself, they found it. A metallic case, intricately crafted and sealed with what appeared to be some kind of archaic locking mechanism. Rizak, his chitinous claws trembling with excitement, immediately recognized it as something alien, something dangerous. Containment. Breach, he barked into his comlink. I have located what appears to be a weapon of unknown origin. Initiate Level 5 quarantine protocols. The surrounding Kryll soldiers snapped to attention, their energy rifles trained on the mysterious case. The air crackled with tension as they carefully lifted the object and carried it to a secure, lead-lined containment chamber deep within the Kryll military complex. News of the discovery spread like wildfire through the Kryll Directorate. The High Command convened an emergency session, their holographic faces grim and determined. This was it, they believed. This was the proof they needed to expose Dave as a spy, a saboteur, a threat to the very fabric of Kryll society. Inside the containment chamber, a team of Kryll scientists clad in protective biohazard suits cautiously examined the metallic case. They scanned it with every sensor at their disposal, analyzed its composition, and even attempted to penetrate its defenses with sonic blasts and laser beams. But the case remained stubbornly sealed, its secrets locked away within. Frustration mounted as hours turned into days. The Kryll scientists were baffled. The case was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Its design was illogical, its materials were unknown, and its purpose remained a complete mystery. Was it a weapon of mass destruction? A bioengineered virus? A device capable of manipulating space-time? The paranoia within the Kryll Directorate reached fever pitch. They issued planetary-wide alerts, mobilized their defense forces, and even considered evacuating their entire civilization to another star system. The fate of the Kryll, they believed, hung in the balance, dependent on the secrets contained within that mysterious metallic case. Finally, after days of relentless effort, one of the Kryll scientists managed to bypass the locking mechanism. With a resounding click, the case sprang open, revealing its contents to the assembled Kryll scientists. A hush fell over the chamber as they stared in disbelief at what lay before them. It was utterly incomprehensible. The metallic case, now open, revealed its contents under the harsh glare of the containment chamber lights. Inside lay a guitar. Not some sleek, futuristic instrument of sonic warfare as the Kryll had imagined, but an old, beat-up acoustic guitar, its wooden body scarred with scratches and faded stickers, 6 strings tarnished and slightly out of tune stretched along its neck. Commander Razak, his multifaceted eyes wide with confusion, leaned closer, his chitinous mandibles twitching. What is this thing?" he stammered, his voice barely a whisper. One of the Kryll scientists, his biohazard suit slightly askew, nervously adjusted his optical sensors. "According to our analysis, Commander, it is a guitar. Apparently, it is designed to produce vibrations." Vibrations? The Kryll Directorate had prepared for temporal distortions, nanoplagues, even simulated realities designed to shatter their collective consciousness. They had not prepared for vibrations. The scientist continued, "Humans, it seems, manipulate these strings to create music." He shuddered slightly. "The purpose appears to be recreational." Dave, who had been observing the proceedings from a nearby monitor room, couldn't help but chuckle. Recreational? Oh, it was recreational, all right. He remembered countless evenings spent strumming that old guitar, singing off-key tunes with his friends back on Earth. He'd even written a few songs about Kryll bureaucracy, though he doubted they'd appreciate the artistic critique. The Kryll, however, were far from amused. They began poring over ancient human texts, desperately trying to decipher the true nature of this guitar. Was it a weapon disguised as a musical instrument, a device capable of manipulating emotions, a subtle form of psychological warfare? The more they studied it, the more confused they became. It was then that Dave decided to intervene. He requested a meeting with the High Command, and to their surprise, they granted it. He strolled into the holographic conference room, guitar in hand, looking utterly unfazed by the stern faces staring back at him. "So," he said, casually plucking a string, You guys figured out what it is yet? The Grand Executor, a towering Kryll with a voice that could shatter plasteel, spoke first. Human. We have reason to believe this. Guitar is more than it appears. Explain yourself. Dave grinned. All right. Gather round, little buddies. Let me show you what this baby can do. He sat down on a conveniently placed Kryll cushion, apparently even paranoid dictators need somewhere to sit, and began to play. Not a complex melody, not a strategic sequence of sonic frequencies, but a simple, catchy tune, something he remembered from his childhood, a nursery rhyme. The effect was immediate and utterly catastrophic. The Kryll, a species whose entire existence revolved around rigid order and calculated precision, were confronted with something completely illogical, unpredictable, and catchy. The simple melody wormed its way into their collective consciousness, disrupting their carefully structured thoughts. Some began twitching uncontrollably. Others started humming along, their voices a discordant chorus of clicks and whistles. Commander Arzak, the sternest of them all, found himself tapping his chitinous foot, a gesture unheard of in Kryll military protocol. The holographic displays flickered, the carefully crafted battle strategies dissolving into a jumble of musical notes and nonsensical images. The Kryll Directorate was in utter chaos. Dave, meanwhile, kept playing, a mischievous glint in his eye. He switched to another song, a slightly more upbeat tune, and the chaos intensified. Kryll scientists started dancing. Kryll warriors began air guitaring, and the Grand Executor himself was seen attempting to conduct the impromptu orchestra with his antennae. Their society, built on millennia of unwavering discipline, was crumbling under the weight of a simple human song. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the music stopped. The Kryll slowly regained their composure, their multifaceted eyes blinking in confusion. The Grand Executor, his face a mask of bewildered embarrassment, cleared his throat. Human, he said, his voice regaining some of its former authority. What was the purpose of this performance? Dave shrugged. Just wanted to show you it wasn't a weapon, it's just entertainment. Something to, chill out to. The Kryll looked at each other, their minds struggling to comprehend the concept of chilling out. Entertainment? For pure, unadulterated pleasure? It was a concept so alien to them that it threatened to shatter their very understanding of the universe. In the aftermath, Kryll society underwent a seismic shift. The Directorate, humbled by their vulnerability to something so simple, began to reevaluate their priorities. Mandatory relaxation sessions were introduced, with Kryll citizens forced to listen to carefully selected human music. Some found it torturous, others discovered a strange, unsettling pleasure in it. The military budget was slightly reduced, with the funds diverted to building concert halls. Kryll artists, inspired by the strange human music, began to create their own bizarre forms of art, some of which were surprisingly good. The Kryll, a species once defined by unwavering militarism, were slowly, awkwardly becoming cultured. As for Dave, he became something of a celebrity. The guitar hero of Kryll, he was invited to perform at state dinners, give lectures on human culture, and even had a statue erected in his honor, though he insisted it be made of something less chitinous. He never quite understood what had happened, but he was happy to have brought a little bit of chaos and a little bit of music to the Kryll homeworld. And somewhere, in a forgotten corner of the Kryll archives, a single file remained, labeled Project Acoustic Annihilation. It was a detailed plan to weaponize human music, to use its chaotic power to conquer the galaxy. But for now, it remained dormant, a testament to the day a simple guitar brought a mighty empire to its knees. Years later, the Kryll Directorate still held mandatory human music appreciation days. Some whispered that these were merely elaborate conditioning exercises designed to inoculate them against future acoustic attacks. Others believed the Grand Executor secretly enjoyed the Bee Gees. Regardless, Kryll society was undeniably different. Their art had become more expressive, their strategies less predictable, and their antennae, well, they occasionally twitched in rhythm to forgotten Earth pop songs. As for Dave, he vanished as mysteriously as he arrived, leaving behind only his battered guitar and a lingering question. Was he a hapless survivor, a brilliant saboteur, or just a very lost tourist with a surprisingly effective musical weapon? The Kryll never truly knew, and perhaps that was the most unsettling part of all. The universe, they realized, was far stranger and far more unpredictable than they had ever imagined, and all it took was a single human and a six-stringed instrument to prove it.